This is Krissy and Katrina at the DK 805 podcast, Breaking Stigmas. Today we're excited. We have our first guest here. We have Natalie, who will be sharing her story of recovery as well as her story of loss with her brother. Her brother Alex. He was 30 years old, and during his birthday celebration, celebrating his 30th birthday, and she'll be sharing her story of loss. And then we have Krissy here with her story of recovery as well as her story of loss with her son Dom, who passed shortly after Devin.
Yeah.
Katrina, would you like to start for us?
Yeah, I'm just so grateful you're both here. It's really just to meet you in person for one. I've just followed along. It's how I connected, how Krissy and I connected, that organicness. And then just when I first saw, Love is Free Foundation that you started for Dom, and having that be, I just followed along and loved the connection that I felt that I see in the boys' eyes just so much similarity, just even though they're not similar in eye color. It was just this, so that was what I resonated with, just their love in their heart and their peacefulness and just that nature part of them. That really was why, just that connection. And then when Natalie was she shared so openly and honestly about being just in this walk and then having to go through any bullying or shame that can be attached in the stigmas that we're here trying to break. And I'm just like, I'm blown away really that we're sitting here together, and I'm really grateful.
And sometimes recovering out loud also brings about a different level of pain that we can't see. We're sharing our stories to help others recover. But sometimes the internet isn't always nice.
No.
Do you want to speak on that?
Sure. As far as, recovering out loud, for the most part, I feel like I've got a lot of support in that regard. Most people are very kind, and they can see, the strength that it takes to go from using hard drugs on a daily basis to getting to a place of recovery, right? But then you do also have other people who don't quite understand. And I had made a few posts to honor my brother regarding what he had been through. And, I did get a lot of comments, mostly on Facebook, I've noticed. It's very interesting, the dynamics between the different social media platforms. Mm-hmm. But on Facebook, I've gotten a number of comments where people have said things along the lines like, where if you do drugs, this is what you sign up for, meaning because he did drugs, he deserved to overdose and pass away. Mm-hmm. And just, calling him names or saying horrible things about him, and it's people that, of course, never knew him. Mm-hmm. But it is part of what you sign up for, I suppose, mm-hmm. when you're mm-hmm. willing to share so publicly. But to me, it's just incredibly important to address the shame and that's associated just in general with addiction, but also with family members who have struggled. Because when you have such a deep-rooted shame, I mean, that's really what brought me to using in the first place, was all the shame that I was riddled with, and I didn't know how to manage it or how to cope with it, really. I just didn't like that yucky, gross feeling, and I'm like, what do I do to get rid of this, right? And that's, for me, what brought me to using, because it numbed all of that.
Oh, that just hit my mama's heart so hard and heavy, because that is like, it's almost like the answered question that I found myself asking all the time. Like, what was it? What was it that would not let that recovery stick, or the rehab or the treatment? And that piled on sort of like shame that comes from trying and starting and stopping. And then also too, just the thinking maybe that you can outrun it, or that feeling of just that isn't the time, it's not the time. And now with the fentanyl, being that it doesn't give you that time. We've spoke on that many times. It's just, that is what this generation, we are just wanting to, hopefully, to save this next generation from having to have these this is, this is just not, this is not supposed to be happening, where it is fentanyl takes you and you don't have that chance to go back to recovery or to get back on that walk. And hearing that, just that vulnerability, that being so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, is because I just was just like, that's what I always wanted to know. Like, it was just because of that, it's that instant, I don't want to feel that anymore.
Definitely. And I didn't even realize that that's what it was until recently, I'd say. I mean, I heard a number of talks done by, I can't remember her name, Brene Brown, where she talks a lot about the differences between guilt and shame.
Yeah.
And it kind of just, planted a seed for me, really, where I wasn't really quite ready to understand what she meant. But more recently, I've fully been like, okay, yes, it's definitely that shame feeling it's caused me to not be able to stay clean or sober or whatever the case is.
Now, did you relapse, or were you a one and done when you sought sobriety?
I started going to treatment when I was 19, and I went many times I want to say like 8 or 9, maybe even 10 times to treatment. So it took me a very long time to get clean and stay clean. I mean, now I have 5 years, right?
Congratulations.
Yeah,
that
thank
makes me
you.
so happy.
So beautiful.
It's been a long journey, that's for sure. But yeah, I was definitely not a one and done. And I think, the people who are able to seek help and get it the first time, that's amazing, right? But it's not typically the norm, especially if it's something that you've struggled with for, a long period of time.
I think when we were talking earlier, the age in that, where, especially like with, like, say, alcohol, and having that be where, it's for me with Dylan would say, I won't do that, but I will, this will still be in my life, because that's all my friends are still doing that. When COVID hit, that was being delivered. So how you, that was being delivered and you're home and you're isolating and you're not doing well, and you're suffering in the other things, the shame and the loneliness and anxiety with weed. So that was my experience. And so, yeah.
And how with you, Krissy? How we met Krissy it's interesting. It's similar to how Katrina and I met. So when we talk about the internet, there is positives within the internet too. And we met because you started following our podcast.
Yeah. Algorithms.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys are popping up right when I started the Love is Free Foundation Instagram account. And I just started it and let's see what happens. And I think right away, like, we connected from there.
Yeah. I love Love is Free. And I just resonated with that. And then, and when that started coming about, starting the Love is Free Foundation, can you just go into how that kind of came for you?
Yes. When Dom, my son, was still with us, we both kind of, started the recovery journey together. His experience is really what woke me up. My drug of choice was not fentanyl at the time. I was alcoholic, right? I drinking a lot of wine. And I hadn't realized that about myself yet. So going into recovery myself, I learned about the service aspect of recovery, and he was in recovery as well. And we were recovering in different ways. Yeah. Like, I was more just relying on 12-step communities, and he was in real deal treatment, rehabs, outpatient. But he was living at home with us the last year of his life and going to outpatient. Yeah. So I, going through all the experiences with him during his journey and him being homeless, on and off, over a couple of years, really at this point I've realized it was God kind of rearranged my heart, and everyone on the street I could now see as someone's son or daughter or nephew or brother, or I'm like, these are human beings.
We must.
They were all born as babies and they all have families, and like what has happened to them, right? Like that's kind of where I'm at. And so I have a hard time turning a blind eye on people that are really struggling. And so I just brought it up with Dom. I was like, I feel like homeless outreach would be like a great service project. Like, would you want to do it with me? I was like, I mean, dude, you know all the places they are. Like, you can be the spearhead of this mission, and I'll like make care packages. And you show me where to go. And I was like, it'll be a great team. And he was like, yeah, that sounds cool. He's like, why don't we put them in our car? Like, we never know when we're going to see someone. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea too. And I was like, okay, I'm like a creative type of person. You give me an idea. And I'll like bring it to life, right? I love that. And so I started making these postcards just like on my spare time of like, I had but a ton of rehab sources in my back pocket,
Always.
So I was like dividing them up into areas and like, oh, we can hit this area, and putting together these postcards of like instructions, really direction for somebody that's lost and struggling. Like, here's the social services
Step
office
1
can help you get some Medi-Cal. Here's a couple rehabs in your area that accept Medi-Cal. Here's a church that will help you like take a shower and get food. Like, just resources. That's
so beautiful. That is really,
for someone that's like down and out, like on the curb with nothing, and like, here's some snacks and some water and some resources. Like, if you want to live a different way, like, people love you, like, and God loves you, like you're worthy. That's really like where I guess my heart is at. And he said, he wanted to do it together. So I would put together all those postcards and showed him. And I asked him, if you were on the street and somebody handed you this, like, would you feel like it was condescending in any way? Or, and he was like, no, it's good. He was very like soft spoken, in a way. I was like, all right, cool. Let's plan on it, right? Plan on it. We never walked forward in that. In a few months, life goes by, and I work full time. He was trying to rebuild his life and getting jobs and working with my husband and going to his outpatient groups, rebuilding his own personal relationships, with his girlfriend and stuff like that. And we just never did it. And then, he relapsed and he died. And then we all went dark. Our family and life stopped for a few months. But that idea reemerged and kind of gave me a little bit of hope and purpose on how to get up and out of bed and keep moving and
It's alive.
And it's a way to keep connected with him and keep his memory out there. And I just was like, I started talking about it with my sister and an old friend of ours that we've known our whole lives. We were like on a hike one day up in Tehachapi, and I just brought it up to them, and I was like, what do you think? would you guys be down to like do this with me? Because I lost the other partner, right? Yeah. And they were like, yes, let's do it. Just like, let's do it.
Yeah, they knew it's right.
Yeah.
It's just like that.
Yeah. So then that's when my creative hands like went to work, and I asked my sister Joni, like, would November 2nd, like the 1 year anniversary of his passing, be a good time? Like, would you be available to do it that day? Like, as long as I can get one person to say yes, I'm like, okay, I've got a partner and we're going to do this, My sister's, very humanitarian heart.
Going back to first, that is that purpose in, pain into purpose to start that foundation is so beautiful. Thanks. So beautiful. And I did early on, Carrie, when Dylan was in active use and wasn't at home, but he was choosing to not live soberly and in a space that was, he was in a garage space, but he had rented, and there was other people there. But I would just make packages, same thing, put things in, ready to hand out bags, and just started just in that, just to be, I look back now in a way of like, was I just wanting it to be like, okay, I'm doing this to, prevent or think of, it was also for myself to know that I'm doing something, please save my son, but that's just not how that, how that works. But my heart to see this as everyone's child. I mean, there's someone's daughter, someone's son, and it's, just to, I did that really early on, and I did have to kind of just pull back, because then after Dylan did pass, I was really triggered by anyone that looked like his age and had a skateboard and had the backpack. And I was, this is the hard part, for the first, maybe it was all just a blur, but I was very vulnerable to just getting people help and putting them in spaces like a hotel or something. And my husband had to kind of step in and just say, because they're in unhealthy spaces. So there is like, get them help, go through the help door, but not be their help, because I was trying to do it again and try to get them to the help. And that was their journey. So I could just lead them, or just be love, be kindness, and always, but I just couldn't keep, paying for the hotel room or keeping them in active use. And
one of the things that helped me is breaking the stigma, as Katrina is talking about, and I've said it on a few of our podcasts, my struggle hasn't been addiction, so I didn't understand addiction. So I had a different mindset. And I'm not proud of this, but I do want to say this out loud so other people can hear it. I was naive in believing not my child. That is unhealthy thinking, and that comes from ignorance. And so one of the places I learned how to walk next to my child was from people in recovery. So I would go to the family meetings, and I would sit down and I would listen to what they were saying, and in hearing you speak about the shame, and I would hear those same things within my child. But when my child was trying to explain those things to me as a parent, I am not proud of this part of myself. In Devin's early illness, I was under the assumption it should be one and done. We've already paid for rehab. Mm-hmm. What haven't you gotten? You're just not working the the program. You're just not working the steps. And there was a lot of finger pointing in his early illness. And the more rooms I sat in, the more people I were around, the more I learned to love my child. The more I learned to sit down where he was at, sit down next to him. And towards the end of his journey, we would go to groups together, and we would share, and he would share his shame with me, and we developed a close relationship. So thank you for sharing out loud. Thank you for letting parents know. part of the family unit. When one person is sick, a family unit is sick.